For our feature tonight, we're going to talk about what we can do to reduce our environmental impact during the holidays. Our guest is Anna Kelles. She is the Director of Strategic Development for the Green Resource Hub of the Finger Lakes. Anna has spent her career focused on the connection between nutrition, human health, and the environment. She has a PhD in nutritional epidemiology from the University of North Carolina. Prior to coming to the Hub, she was director of the School of Applied Clinical Nutrition at New York Chiropractic College. Welcome to the program, Anna.
Thank you so much.
So before we begin, why don't you just tell us what the Green Resource Hub is, since we might not know?
Yeah, absolutely. The Green Resource Hub is one of several nonprofits in the area to help the community become more sustainable. It is one of the nonprofits that focuses mostly on the marketplace, almost exclusively on the marketplace. So we have a whole series of programs from the flagship program, which is the SEEN, the Sustainable Enterprise and Entrepreneur Network, which is the Green Business Network. And we try and help businesses practice based on a triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit, rather than just a profit bottom line, really focused on supporting the local marketplace and keeping the consumption local. We also have Green Drinks, which is an international movement, and it's our program to bring everybody together to have a dinner, have a drink, and hang out and talk about whatever they want to talk about, but knowing that everybody cares about the environment. And a program that I'm creating, which is a program to coach businesses through a national sustainability certification. We have 4 events every year to bring the public and the businesses together. And one of our big events, actually, that we do every year, recognizing that a lot of people work from home now, contract from home, or their small businesses can't afford to really celebrate the holiday together as a business. We have our holiday banquet, which is this Thursday at the Space from 5 to 9. And the point is to bring everybody together who believes in sustainability and celebrate the movement and have a lot of food and entertainment and juggling and music. And
that's great.
So that's a huge thing that we're doing this year.
So from Thanksgiving to Christmas is a time when Americans have a lot of trash. Apparently we throw out lots of boxes. I read that we dump 25% more trash during this time of the year than any other time of the year. I'm wondering if you can talk about ways that consumers can reduce their environmental footprint during the holidays.
Oh, from so many different angles. One of the things I've been talking to people about recently, which is quite controversial, is the Christmas tree debate. And the question of whether to buy a live tree or to have a plastic tree. And
what's the answer? What's better?
It is gray, actually. So I would say that if you are coming from a very emotional standpoint, then a live tree is always the way to go. It's it's biodegradable, recyclable, it's non-toxic, and I am definitely passionate about that. If people are buying trees and they're driving 100 miles to get it, and it's from a farm that uses tons of chemicals, then it gets really gray, compared to someone who buys a plastic tree and uses it for 30 years. Then you really have to look at cradle to grave, the impact on the soil and the ground. So, I would say that if you are buying local, things to think about is how far you're driving. Is it coming from a farm that's producing the trees organically, sustainably? Then, buying a live tree might be a really valuable thing to do for the community and for yourself. And if you're not, and it isn't a really sustainable tree, then having one that might be plastic that you're using for at least 7 years. From what I read in the statistics, that 7 years is the base that you would have to use a non-living tree in order to, sort of get its worth environmentally. Ideally, you would have a living tree that you then, at the end of the season, plant in the ground. And so that's a wonderful thing to do.
Or you could decorate a living plant in your house.
Exactly, which is what I do. I have done many years, and it's beautiful, small. It looks like the Peanuts. Mm-hmm. Charlie Brown tree.
So if somebody goes out and buys a Christmas tree from a farm that's not very far away, what do they do with the tree afterwards? Can you turn it into mulch or?
Absolutely. There are some things. I mean, certainly the trunk, use it for firewood. You can cut it down, and then obviously you'd have to dry it for a year or 2 years, but you could use it that way. I've actually in the past done ceremonies with the tree. So I've had additional in New Year's celebrations. Instead of buying firewood, you're bringing people over. I've had ceremonies outside where I thank it and, have a bonfire and keep everybody warm for many hours during the evening. There are things that you can do. You can also use the needles for decorations in future decorations, and that's something that people should look into. If people are really crafty, they can use the branches and the trunk to carve and whittle and make decorations for the following year. So there are many ways to recycle.
Other than maybe advertising on the part of the Christmas tree company, are there any ways to tell that a company is using sustainable means to produce their trees?
Well, if you are really wanting to be as sustainable as possible, you would go to a place that's as local as possible, and then you can physically go there. Mm-hmm. So I would suggest that people get a tour, or you ask, stores that might procure trees, like Green Star is selling Christmas trees. Okay. You can go to Green Star and ask where they're getting them from and what information they got from them and questions that they asked. Sometimes you can go online and get information. So there are a few ways that you can figure that out.
Our guest tonight is Anna Kelles. She is the Director of Strategic Development at the Green Resource Hub of the Finger Lakes. So tell me about lights. What about lights? What kind should we use?
LED. That is still the best thing.
What does that stand for? Do you know? Light emitting
diodes.
Right. Okay. So how much less energy do they use?
So it's about 3,000 hours for regular lights, where you would get about 50,000 to 200,000 for an LED light. Compact fluorescent lights are another form of environmentally conscious. They last longer, but they have mercury. So if they're not disposed of properly, then they can have huge environmental impacts. So that's why we still say LED lights are your best bet as far as being really environmental. And one of the other things that I would say about it is not just that they last a lot longer, but you have to think of the packaging that they come in. So if you're buying 15 times the amount of regular lights and all the packaging that comes with it, all of that is going into the landfill, and the amount of methane that's released from the decomposition from landfills is massive. So it's the duration of that they last that really makes them so environmentally friendly compared to everything else.
What about decorations? Do you have any suggestions for tree decorations?
Absolutely. I like staying away from anything that's petroleum-based plastics, but there are so many things now that are out there. Wooden decorations. Also, if you get ones that are painted with water-based paints rather than, some of the more chemical paints, that's awesome. Things that we used to do when we were kids, where we make the gingerbread men and then we paint it and seal it so that they last forever. One's made out of cloth. There are also some really creative things that people are doing where they're finding things in nature, and you can buy from a craft store the hooks, and you use those as decoration. And also recycling things. So, you find things in recycled stores like a little booty, a baby booty, and it sounds really silly, but you can actually, put one of those clips in and you can make it as a really cute little decoration. Knitting things is also really sweet.
I remember people stringing popcorn or stringing cranberries.
That was the other thing that I have on my list, is the popcorn. And you can actually dye those so that you can have colored ones. And for trees that are decorated by kids, a long time ago we used to do the construction paper. We would make the paper chains, and that can be really, really sweet. Decorations out of cloth are also, really helpful.
What about gift suggestions?
Tons of gifts locally. Stay local. And one of the things that I would suggest is pick a day where you want to go shopping for gifts, and so that you're not driving all over the place and every single day making extra trips, so you consolidate them. And some of the gifts that are awesome is actually recycling gifts or repurposing gifts. So two things. One is regifting. That is not a faux pas anymore. That's actually a great thing to do if you have things that someone would love. There's so many places here where you can buy reused gifts. And the other thing that I would say really quickly is things that aren't physical materials. So gifting a CSA, a farm share, or gifting a monthly subscription to local wines, or gifting gift certificates to local massage therapists or spas. Those can be amazing because they use the local businesses and don't create any physical material.
We're just about out of time, but I have wondering about gift wrap. Do you have any suggestions for that?
Oh, my God, absolutely. One of the best things that I love is taking brown paper bags and writing poems or personal notices on them that can be really sweet. Old maps, old newspapers, all of those are really fabulous. But the personal touch, potato stamps that kids can do, those are wonderful.
Great. And do you have anything else you want to add before we end it for tonight? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. The biggest two things. You want to get a vibe of the holidays. Boil some water and put in essential oils of rosemary and pine and clove, and you'll get the whole house to smell like Christmas without spending tons of money. And the other thing is making it about spending time together rather than gifting, doing secret Santas rather than giving presents to everyone, but spending time together, creating a scavenger hunt, going for a hike, creating that for kids especially so that they think of that as Christmas rather than getting gifts.
That sounds great. Well, thank you, Anna. We appreciate you coming in here tonight.
Absolutely. So my pleasure.